Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Next in Time podcast. I'm your host, ST Tangarella, and today our guest is none other than Amy Ouzoonian. And if you want to know more about Amy Ouzoonian, she is the founder and CEO of MoodConnect. She has started this company in the year 2021, and the mission and vision of it is to create a healthy, enjoyable work environment where people, particularly employees and businesses, can grow the team together. And if you want to know why, it's because a healthy and happy team is productive and loyal to one another. So before starting Moon Connect, she has worked in the marketing space for 20 plus years, and she has a lot of knowledge and wisdom about marketing and also the world of startups. And so, Amy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here on your show, ST. Really great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're able to join, and hopefully the you've also experienced the fact that you're from Arizona, right?
Originally from New York, but I've lived in Phoenix, Arizona for the past 11 years. So
So you
yeah,
must. So it's a
pretty
nice.
familiar.
It's a nice weather change from like the tropical. Well, I don't say tropical, but say the more moist weather of New York, while compared to let's say the dry heat in Phoenix that you have to
Oh
deal with.
yeah.
We just had a heat wave the other day here in California, and I can understand now the people in Phoenix how they deal with it every day for an entire summer.
Yeah. I heard that Death Valley and California had higher heat levels. Yet we're really not able to sustain, living out here without air conditioning, or some kind of central cooling kind of, thing. So yeah, but I love warmer weather and I have a great appreciation for the sun and yeah, so, I don't particularly mind it, but I don't stay outside in the heat for very long.
Yeah, I can tell that because I actually started to really not enjoy the heat as much as I thought I would because we were all, coming from California, we're all expected to be people who love the sun. But now I'm starting to realize because of the excessive heat, I'm starting to really not enjoy it so much. So I'm staying more indoors during the summer than I am outside. But yeah, if I think there's a fun fact that if it weren't for air conditioning, that Arizona would not be the state it is today.
Certainly not. Certainly not. Yeah, if air conditioning or swamp coolers didn't exist, for whatever reason, um, Arizona and most of desert lands, like Nevada, uh, New Mexico, probably would not be populated at all. It wouldn't be safe to like to live. Yeah.
Well, being in Arizona, I mean, I can always say that Carrier has done a great job in terms of helping the population grow in in the Southwest. Yeah, that's the company that invented air conditioning. If you
Oh,
want
wow.
to, yeah,
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of providers out here, but I did not know that, I mean, wow. I mean,
yeah,
that's a great business to be in, right?
right,
You know, yeah.
yeah. So let's segue into your world right now. So, Amy, so I just wanted to get to know more about your background. Like, what made you become who you are in terms of starting this company, Mood Connect? And let's get to know more about like your experience working in marketing because you mentioned that you have 20 plus years of experience, which is plenty. That's plenty of experience that you could just use to be able to just like, you know what, let me just promote anything I want.
Yeah. I started my journey in marketing. Originally, I had gotten my undergrad in journalism and creative writing when I went to school at SUNY New Paltz. And by the time I graduated, it was not, it, it didn't seem that just a journalism and creative writing degree was going to help me to advance in in those areas because as you know, well, all right, and this is going to be aging me a bit because I'm 43. When I received my undergrad, it was 2007. So that was quite a long time ago. All right.
Yeah,
Um, and and the news, and media was becoming more and more, uh, you know, pronounced. It was being seen more and more, online, right?
right.
Um, did I say 2007? I apologize. What I meant to say was 2004. So in
2004. Still,
2004,
still a
we were,
s- still a
yeah.
relatively short period of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So so I so the news, people are starting to consume their news more and more online and not in print. And and because of that, I found that it was a natural segue for me to be moving into marketing. A lot of creative writers and people who wanted to get roles in journalism were writing more for SEO purposes. Sorry, I turn off that. Uh, we were wanting to. The job market was wanting to have more, writing done for SEO purposes, and there was just more marketing demand
Right.
uh, than writing for newspapers and magazines. And so I moved more into the marketing world and learned about online content writing, editing for SEO purposes, and then doing graphic design, digital marketing, paid ads, learning about Google Ads, and then when Facebook started to emerge, learning more about Facebook advertising, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, so I have a lot of marketing experience, even beyond online marketing, and uh, yeah, and that was part of what had led me into creating MoodConnect,
Right.
um, because I had been in marketing for many years, and shortly before the pandemic had started in 2020, I um, I was doing a lot of training for customer service, marketing, and sales that involved AI sentiment analysis,
Right.
and that is a key component that we use in Mood Connect.
So it's like an
Yeah,
AI. So before I go into Mood Connect,
yeah.
what was what was the catalyst as to why you decided to go into the startup world? I mean, because you're having a great career in marketing and doing a lot of, working with a lot of different clients. I think one of them was, I forget, I think I looked at your LinkedIn, I forget which one it was, but I think it was one of the ones that you did like in 2019 or something.
Yeah, yeah. So I was working for a major corporate client for a few years,
Yeah,
and I, started out as a contract position and then moved into full time. Um, and in the beginning of the pandemic, it's not very well known, but a lot of companies, a lot of large uh, corporate businesses and Fortune 500 companies did a mass layoff of employees. They didn't really want the media to know about it. They didn't really want other people outside of those workspaces to know that there were, major layoffs that were taking place in the beginning of the pandemic. But I was one of the thousands that were laid off in the beginning of 2020. So in the beginning of the pandemic,
just when is it
in
was it
April.
Was it
Mhm.
during, was it before the pandemic started, or was it like during, like when, when March 2020 came, when the lockdowns began? Was that the reason that, was that when you got
Yeah,
laid off,
so
or?
well, I was laid off in April of 2020, and I had thought about applying for other jobs, but it really uh, didn't seem conducive because there was so much that was in flux that was going on in the world. We didn't know if if we were going to be in lockdown. We didn't know if we were going to be working from home. I have a 5 year old. Well, now my daughter is 5.
Right.
She was 2 at the time, going on 3 in the beginning of the pandemic. And I didn't know if she was going to be going back to school or daycare. I didn't know what my work schedule would look like with her being at home with me.
Right.
And so I kind of put the job hunt on pause. And at that time, I am also a yoga and meditation teacher. And so I was starting to do some Zoom meditation and yoga classes with my clients because at the time previous to that, I was teaching yoga and meditation classes in the evenings and on weekends, when I wasn't on my at my regular job.
Got it.
And as I was teaching these classes online and via Zoom, um, I started to have the idea, the vision for Mood Connect. It kind of was crystallizing in my mind, um, and then things started shifting and changing as we moved into 2021, and the more full vision of Mood Connect started to take shape. So I started into my journey into the startup world and learning about some of the requirements, some of the tools of a startup founder in 2020. I started meeting more key people in the world of startups in 2020. Um, we had met on Entra. I
Oh yeah,
met,
Entra. Speaking of which, speaking
yeah,
of Entra, I did interview one of the investors, Scott Calick,
uh-huh,
on my previous on one of the previous episodes. So I think Entra, it's like a connector in a way.
yeah. Yeah, well, so in 2020, when I had just started, kind of delving into the world of startups, I met with Michael Mara. Um, I think it was like in the summer of 2020, and at the time, a lot of people were meeting on Lunch Club, and I, I mean, I know Lunch Club, it's still doing very well. People are still meeting on it, but at the time when we had met on Lunch Club, it was like very Lunch Club was very new, and they didn't have a video system already kind of baked into their platform. So what Lunch Club did was they would connect people who had similar interests to meet with each other, and you would decide the format of how you would meet. Like, you would create a Zoom link or decide, are you going to talk on the phone, or are you going to create like a Google chat meetup space,
I mean, that's
and
how
then yeah.
is that where you met Michael?
Yeah, that's how I met Michael. It was in summer of 2020,
Right.
and that was when that was previous to what Entra is now. When I had met him, it I mean, the idea was the same, to create like basically a LinkedIn for Gen Z. And now what it's grown to be is a hub for all generations that are interested in startup and
Yeah.
investing, and in being more involved in the world of startups, but
Got it.
certainly more focused on Gen Z.
Makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
because it is one thing about Entra I really like is that you could at least have your individual rooms to have those connections. And also you could also, I mean, you're connecting not just with Gen Z, because a lot of the Gen Z or at least the people on Entra, there's plenty of crypto people. It's very focused on Web 3.0.
Oh yeah.
And but then again, it's also welcoming to other kinds of startups. And
Oh yeah. And
yes,
yeah, I feel like that's so very important to not exclude any groups, not exclude any generations or cultures or understandings, backgrounds, philosophies, uh, to be accepting of all of these concepts and ideas, but also to embrace where technology is moving to, and and to really find a way to help people to thrive in that new technology. And
got it.
Entra's been doing a really wonderful job at that.
Yeah. So yeah, let's segue into your startup, MoodConnect, right? So you
Hmm.
started this in 2021 and you got the idea from your experience as a yoga instructor and a marketer. You got a lot of these experiences you're morphing into MoodConnect. So what is the mission and vision you're trying to solve with it?
So in Mood Connect, our mission is to deliver wellness solutions to sorry, deliver wellness solutions to employees and managers to improve businesses' productivity, communication, and profitability. And our vision is creating a healthier workspace culture that values employee wellness. And the reason why I came up with these concepts, these ideas. They've been sort of cultivated over the time that I was, in envisioning what Mood Connect would become throughout 2020. I went back to the roots of what had pushed me, thrusted me into the world of being a startup. Uh, and it was basically because um, workspaces were not healthy to be in, and they did not value employee health and wellness.
Right.
And this is a big reason why so many people leave their corporate jobs to enter into the gig economy and
And the
start.
and one thing about the gig economy, it's even more toxic than the corporate culture. At least in the corporate world, at least you're protected in the corporate world. Well, here you're just fending for yourself, right?
Right. Well, I mean, that's the idea, I mean, like in the corporate world, we have these safeguards, these protectors, like uh, you know, diversity and inclusion, D&I, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, and there's HR, all of these practices that are in place, right? So in theory, yes, people are supposedly protected by that toxicity,
Right.
right? But that isn't always the case, really.
Yeah.
And what is the major reason why people will leave their work job, their workspaces, is it's it's because of that kind of toxicity. But then there's another added layer of burnout that we've been seeing over the course of so many years. And it came to a head when the pandemic happened,
Right.
because people were facing the reality that, like, oh, if I'm sick, then there are certain kind of conditions for when I can come into work or when I should stay home. Like, okay, in normal situation, if you have a cold or you're feeling like you're getting in some allergies coming on, or you maybe have a little bit of a stomach flu, it's not going to be life threatening if you go into work, right?
Right.
But if you have COVID and someone who you work with has compromised immune system, right? and you pass on COVID to your coworker, then they could die.
Mm.
It's a big difference between having a cold and and COVID.
Yeah,
So, um, so many corporate workspaces, they didn't have something in place to protect employees from something like COVID, right?
yeah,
And so it was like, okay, well, what do we do with this situation? A lot of workspaces were like, okay, we're gonna just have everybody work remotely, right?
yeah.
All right, so
And
everybody's working remotely. Now the work-life balance doesn't exist because you're working at home. So employees were like, all right, even if I
ha-
have a home office, all right, like it's still in my home. I feel like I'm drawn to have to work more because I'm at home when
yeah.
I'm working.
I mean,
And
also regarding a home office, at least because it's right in front of you, the office is right in front of you, and you just wanted to get this thing through very quickly, kind of set.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So with that came burnout. And it's interesting. I just saw an article that came out today that LinkedIn wrote about how employees can protect themselves from burnout and
Yeah,
set boundaries with their employer
right,
on, to prevent themselves from experiencing burnout.
right.
But you know what? That's why I started Mood Connect, because I thought this, I mean, that idea of putting it upon an employer to protect themselves from getting burned out, it sounds kind of, I mean,
Yeah,
kind of ridiculous, because the person that's putting demands on the employee is the employer.
right. And
Well,
so
yeah.
I was just gonna say, what challenges do you see when it comes to getting this thing implemented?
So, currently we're in V1 of our product.
Right,
It uses sentiment analysis to help employers, HR professionals, and managers to see how their employees are feeling, how they're doing. And then uh, and then the AI bot that scores through conversations to measure how employees are feeling, then delivers wellness solutions to employees. Previously, the obstacles that we were having is that businesses were concerned about AI, concerned about IP protection, privacy. But we have, over these past couple of weeks, we have made measures to implement cybersecurity and compliance to be able to protect our our current client and our future clients' IP and their privacy, and their protecting their content
right.
from being released to or being attacked by any kind of cyber, I don't know, malware, anything like that, and also ensuring that their data is destroyed after sentiment is recorded. So the
Got it.
idea is that um, the AI bot in Mood Connect, it's connected to our sentiment model.
Right.
Uh,
So
it
this
will
is what you're.
score through.
It's basically what you're trying to do is use AI to measure the mood sentiment of the
Mhm.
person, and then
Yeah,
who's your like in terms of target market, you're focusing on corporations, right? Or what you
yeah, it's enterprise.
oh
Hmm.
yeah, enterprise, yeah. So you're focusing on those companies and like how are you trying to find ways to stand yourself out from the competition? Because I come across a lot of wellness apps, wellness
Hmm.
programs. Like how are you doing it differently from the competition?
Well, we're actually partnered with quite a few wellness apps that are used in workspaces, like Calm and Calmary, BetterHelp, and Headspace. We are partnered with Headspace, and we're partnered with BetterHelp.
Yeah, those are
Mhm,
all the big names out there, especially like with
mhm.
BetterHelp, Health Headspace. At least it's a good. I think that's a smart move in terms of what you're trying to work with. Because it's like beating if you can't beat them, as they say, if you can't beat them, you join them.
Yeah, I mean, it was never my intent to compete against any of those wellness providers. It was always my intent to uh, uh, bring more employees, bring more customers and clients to those businesses. Because really the goal with Mood Connect is to bring more health and wellness into workspaces, not to compete against those companies, but
Because they're
to
too,
utilize their services within, kind of bake them into Mood Connect.
yeah, because they would be difficult to compete with because they're way too big. But all right, yeah, because we're also running low on time. So what?
Mhm.
So my final question would be, what advice would you give to other fellow founders or anyone who are looking to build startups?
Yeah, what I would say is if you're fundraising, understand what your budget is and what your expenses are before you start raising, before you even, decide on how much are asking for, how much you need to raise. Get a little bit of an understanding of, the uh, uh, I guess get a better understanding of the tools you're going to need. If you can have any kind of free or affordable, low cost kind of tools, make sure that you have advisors that are willing to put either time or money into your business. Don't just get advisors who want equity in your company, but aren't going to do anything, to add to your company. Um, uh, and if you are a non-technical co-founder, that's okay. You can use non-tech, no-code solutions to build your prototype, your MVP, so on and so forth. The earliest version of Mood Connect was actually Wix, and we did very well with proving that our concept worked with developing a go-to-market strategy and proving product market fit just with a very low cost, no code solution. Um, and
Yeah,
then I brought on my co-founder.
yeah.
So my technical co-founder. Yeah.
All right, cool. I just want to say thank you again, Amy, for coming on the Next in Time podcast, and I'm looking forward to seeing how your startup pans out.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.